If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout. Thanks for tuning in to this episode where we're going to meet yet another writer to find out what they're writing, why they're writing, and how they wrote it. Because hopefully one day you might write your story too, and this particular episode will help you with that. And if you're not interested in writing your story, hey, let me tell you, this episode has a lot of referral books for you to read, and you are going to be so amazed by the author that I have on. I have on Dan Blanchard today, and let me tell you, he's a returning guest. He was on episode 25, and he is an award-winning author. I'm going to take a deep breath. Educator, speaker, traveler. He has published close to 50 books, including a memoir, and he developed like a series called GRANDDADDY Secrets. And GRANDDADDY Secrets not only have secrets for leadership for everybody, but it has some great books for authors. So we're going to talk about that. He has recently published his new trilogy called Travel in Time with Dan. We're going to talk about that today. He has done TEDx talks, and they've gone viral because they have given empowerment tools to people. On episode 25, please go back and watch that. Let me tell you, we talk about his book, The Storm. And this is a story where he shares how he mentors young men and makes them into good men. And I like that. You know, young men becoming good men. He holds, 7 college degrees, probably more now. He was a 2-time junior Olympic wrestler champ. He's a wrestling coach. He's also a coach, a mentor. And he, I think, possesses more time in his day than me, but he possesses a lot of time, patience, and endurance because when he is not teaching or coaching, he spends his time writing and balancing a family with 5 children. I want to welcome back Dan Blanchard to the show.
Thank you, Angela. That was a great introduction. Sometimes I get tired listening to that, but it's
wet
great
the
to
whistle
be
on that one.
Yes, it's great to be back on your show, and I'm looking forward to spending time talking to you. We always have great conversations and sharing some great stuff with your audience.
Yeah, so I do want to ask you. Right now, you know, when we record, it's usually about 9:30 in the morning here in the studio. What time is it in your world? Like, how many hours do you have in your day?
Well, it's interesting. I remember when I was in high school, and I don't know if you remember these ads. Remember the old military ads, the Army ads, the military ads, where it says, we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do, their entire day. And it just seems like my entire life has been like that. When I was 10 years old, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning to deliver the newspapers before school. That's 5th grade, 10 years old. And I did that pretty much all the way through the 80s. And then I went to the military, the Army and the Air Force, where I got to see that ad.
Yeah.
And I got to live that ad, right? Where now I was getting up at 3:30 with the military and doing more before 9 a.m. than most people are doing most of their lives. And then after the military, when I came back to being a civilian and went to college, it was the same sort of thing. I was getting up 4:30-ish, which was kind of sleeping in.
Yeah.
And being at the gym at 5.
Oh my gosh. No.
And then being at my college class at 8 in the morning. I took 8 in the morning all the way through to have all my classes done by noon so that I could work in the afternoon and coach wrestling and do all that stuff and do my studies and reading at night. And then when I became a teacher and a football coach, wrestling coach, it was the same sort of thing. And then when I became, I wanted to become an author, I was like, okay, so when would I do this? And at the time I said, well, what if instead of getting up at 4:30-ish, what if I got up at 4 and wrote for a half hour or 40 minutes every single morning before I went to the gym? And I was like, let's do it. So then for a decade, 7 days a week, I was getting up at 4. And
so
then
what are you living on, 3-4 hours sleep?
For quite some time. I lived on about 4 hours of sleep for a long time. Now it's probably 5 or 6 hours of sleep is what I'm living on, Which, if you go back to like the 80s and the Tony Robbins self-improvement, peak performance, and you go back and look at all those books on psychology of performance and psychology of achievement and all that stuff, back in those 80s and 90s, they were really preaching that you don't need as much sleep as they tell you. You can sleep plenty when you're dead. Now, all these years later, like I don't know if I fully agree with that. And I tell my children, don't be like me. Get your sleep.
We all say that.
Get your sleep. Don't be like me and be sleep deprived for decades. Get your sleep.
Yeah, because
you know what I'm saying?
Like the Energizer Bunny, and still 5 children. That's a lot to balance with their own activities and their sports.
It is. So you can see why I need to squeeze things in, and sleep usually gets pushed out.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry that sleep gets pushed out for you because it's one of my favorite hobbies, napping. But I'm appreciative because, you really do. I mean, close to 50 books now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. When did you start writing? When did you start publishing these books? How many years ago?
I started in 2009 with my first book.
Yeah.
And I believe it was published in like 2010. So one of those dates is
Yeah,
the start
that's what
date.
I'm saying. I mean, you're talking about 20 years, so you're doing, you're pumping out these books for sure.
Yeah. And it was funny because my first one probably took me to really get it the way I wanted it. Probably took me close to like 2 years to do something like that. And then after a while, I got it down to like 1 year.
Yep.
Then after a while, I got it down to 6 months. And now I found a method.
Okay.
Where
Please
I'm
share your
always working
Yeah.
on something. And it could be, let's say, like a blog.
Yeah.
Like I'm working on a blog, but I'm not just one and done with that blog.
Yeah.
That blog is sitting because I planned out to use it in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe not word for word, but I'm going to take the concept and some of that content and multi-purpose it.
Yep.
And I'm going to throw it into my book, one of my next books.
Yep.
So when people are like, how do you come up with content for your
Right, you
next
have
book?
stuff,
I already have it. I already have videos, YouTube videos. I already have blogs. I already have podcasts. I've got, like every single day, I'm creating some form of content.
Yep.
Maybe it's an article, newspaper article, magazine article, a blog, the blog.
But even creating that content and then pushing it to publication, I mean, that's a whole nother road, so it's like you're kind of multitasking doing both because it's one thing when I tend to do the same thing because I'll be writing, and when I'm writing I'm handwriting, but then when I'm editing I'm typing the handwriting into the computer and I'm editing that, and then once you're doing the editing in the format, I still could be writing something else over here.
Exactly.
I call them my pots on the stove.
Yes, exactly.
Like this one's simmering, this one needs more ingredients, this one might be ready to serve.
Yeah, and now here and over here you're working on the book cover.
Yeah.
For like a book you're trying to put out. So you have these multi-pots or these multi-balls you're juggling, but it's like a feeder system. Yeah. You're always working on, like, people are like, you ever hear people saying I'm reading more than one book at a time? Yeah. Some people go, how is that possible? I go, you'd be surprised. Yeah. When you read for many years and many books, all of a sudden you're reading. It becomes very easy to read multiple books.
How do you watch more than one television show at a time? It's the same thing.
People do it. And then same thing with writing. It's like you can write more than one book at a time. You're just in different stages of the book. And then one of the stages is creating content to be multi-purposed out through multiple platforms, social media stuff or whatever.
Well, you do multiple platforms because, like you said, you're doing the blog, you do social media, you do I'm going to say annual, like weekly newsletters, like type emails
the
to
newsletters.
People. You're doing the books, and then, you're doing talks. I mean, you were our keynote speaker at the very first yWrite conference.
Yes.
And, and you can see yWrite, the energy, and the wisdom. So it's like, you're right. I mean, you have to find a way to almost diversify yourself.
Yes, and I think the better you diversify yourself, the more fun you're having. Yeah. And the more angles of attack you have at content that might not have come out of a nice boxed in little path. Some people are just like it's funny, like some people say, I write an outline. Other people go, no, Stephen King just writes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And comes at it from, who knows where your creative genius will bring you.
Right.
So when you're doing all these different things, it's like, I got a speech tomorrow. Yeah. Well, boom, right before you talk, you hit record on your phone. And not only does it record the audio, but it gives you a transcript. Yeah. From there, and then from the transcript, you could pick things out and develop this, develop that, and you got 10 more articles. Yeah. 10 more blogs. You got this, and then boom, that stuff you could pick that stuff. Boom, that stuff's in one of the 3 books.
So when are you like submitting to these newspapers? And how do you juggle that too? Are you doing that at the 3 and 4 in the morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, up early for forever.
Yeah.
Write in something. It might be a blog, it might be a newspaper article, it might be a book I'm working on. Sometimes it's multiple things.
Yeah.
And then during your lunch break.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Over the years, I've developed a technique over the years of you can eat a sandwich with one hand while you write
Yeah.
with the other hand during your break, your lunch break. And then when you finish the sandwich, you can grab an apple and eat an apple with one hand as you continue to write. And then you could drink a bottle of water as you continue to write.
Well, I mean,
so
and
you can write
nowadays
all
with
during
all
the-
like the texting and the quick ways of making contact with people. I mean, I reached out to you, I don't know, I want to say maybe 2 months ago and said, hey, I know you wrote more books. I need to talk to you again, And it's like, and we were able to plan, you to be able to come into the studio. So it's like, it's being able to, quick plan and do things like that.
Yes, absolutely. When some people, what they do, I don't do this a lot, but occasionally I'll do this a little bit. But there are some people that do this next one a lot, and it works well for them. They could be like driving to work or out walking the dog.
Yeah.
And for many people, like that time's lost.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
I
lost.
dictate.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are dictating as they're driving to work, as they're walking the dog. They're dictating. Me, I'm listening to some sort of like audiobooks. So like I'm educating myself, because if you want to write a lot, you have to read a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's not lost time. And then there's sometimes when I'll pull up at work, right? And I always try to get to work early. But there are sometimes when I pull up at work and I can be like, oh, you know what? Before I turn my car off, before I go into work and flip the page to the next chapter, right? I just listened to like a whole bunch of like audiobook stuff or podcast stuff or whatever, and it's got my brain moving, right? So then I'll pull out my phone and maybe dictate some notes for some direction I want to go, or I'll pull out my phone and hit record, and I'll do a quick little YouTube video that's just a couple minutes long, and boom, I got that YouTube video done, which can now be multi-purposed into other things along the way. And where'd that come from? Automobile University. Just listening to an audiobook or a podcast on the way to work, and then taking 3-4 minutes before I go into work to just pull out my phone and go, boom, 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 right? And it's just like, there's so many ways to crank out stuff. But you got to, and I don't know if it's because I had a paper route when I was a kid and went to school and played sports and worked.
Yeah. Well, I think people who do multitasking, but different, involved in different things, it allows your brain to kind of swift gears kind of quickly, but also keep other gears going at the same time. So here's a question I got for you, because I know sometimes, you like you said, you handwrite or you're dictating your notes into your phone. After you've used that content, what do you do with it? Do you throw away those pages? Do you delete the note? Because I have so many and I don't know what to do with.
No, I usually don't.
I know.
Throw it away. I just store it somewhere.
Yeah.
Some old notebooks is piling up somewhere. I mean, lots of times I look at my computer and I'm just like, wow, I got so much stuff on this computer.
And then I'm trying to find something on my computer and I'm like, what did I call it again? I'm like,
yeah, and that's always fun. Trying to search and find stuff.
Search and find. I'm like, I know I wrote this. I know it's in here.
Yeah, and then every now and then, like you go back, and you find a gem. And you're like, ooh, I wonder if I can blow this out some more.
Yeah.
And something I used to do before, that now I've modernized, but let me just go back to what I used to do, was I used to carry, those little teeny notebooks, that little memo pads?
I have those,
I used to carry a memo pad in my pocket and a pen in my pocket. And it might be the name of an article or anything.
Yeah.
When it pops in my head, I know I'm not going to remember it later.
Yeah.
So I pull out my little teeny memo pad, I pull out my pen, and I just write it down to work on it later.
Yeah, I have that. I actually bought one that little leather bound one. It's like leather. I'm telling you, the little spiral ones work so much better.
The little spiral ones.
Yeah,
they're cheap. They work well.
Fancy.
So I have this little bulge in my pocket, the little spiral, little memo.
Well, when I had my flower shop, I always had the notebook in my back pocket with the pen.
Yep.
And then if during the day, if I knew, almost like your grocery list, like, oh, tomorrow I need to pick up yellow roses, so I'd open it up, and the front half of the pad would have my supply list, but the back half of the pad would have my notes for stories and books and all of that.
Yes. So when people said to me, how do you come up with stuff? Don't you ever go like, what is that, writer's block?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I always have stuff. In today's version, now I pull out my phone.
Yeah.
And I just make a little note and then put it back in. And
So,
there it is.
You know, your first book, The Storm, when, that was written 20 years ago.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. And, you're talking about, empowering young men. And, really, you're a special education teacher in Hartford, Connecticut.
New Britain.
New Britain. So,
Yep.
you got hardcore, I'm going to say hardcore kids.
Yeah,
They're coming from rough
kids.
families.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're taking these kids and kind of shaping them into being good, strong men, being responsible adults.
Yes.
And, writing The Storm, not only gives people a book to read on it, but then you give talks on it, you do the mentoring, the coaching, and things like that. And that's from who you are.
Yes.
I mean, then now you've started Travel in Time. And I love it because as I'm looking through these books, it is the experiences you've had.
Yeah.
But you're doing something like these books need more research, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
when did you come up with this concept? Because you have 3 of them. I know 2 of them are
Yep.
published now,
Yep.
and it's you tell
Let me
us
walk
about
you
the book.
through
Yeah.
it, Angela. So basically, being an inner city school teacher is very frustrating, especially when you're newer at it. You don't know how you can make it through the first day. You drive home white knuckle on your steering wheel going, I will not quit. I did this. I will not quit. Will not quit. Will not quit. Right? I mean, because you want to quit. You want to quit so bad. And that goes on for years. We're not talking days or months. That goes on for years.
Bless
where
all
you,
the teachers
Where
out
you
there.
just want to quit and you're going, oh my gosh, I wouldn't put this sort of treatment on my worst enemy. This is inhumane, right? It's a rough job.
And how old are the kids that you're with?
Well, I guess the first 8 years in New Britain was with middle school kids.
Okay.
So I was inner city, strike 1, middle school kids, strike 2, and special ed behavioral, strike 3. So my days were just terrible. But I weathered them somehow. I weathered them, right? And I survived them. And you get better and you get tougher, right, as you go, because you have to, right? They eat you up. So you have to get better. You have to get tougher. And I think it was Gandhi who might have said, be the change
Yeah.
in the world.
Okay.
I was so frustrated with the young teen boys I was dealing with. And I was just like, many times I was like, look at him going like, what is wrong with you? Like, what made you think that was a good idea? Jeez, oh my gosh. And after a while, I was starting to get sick all the time, high blood pressure. And I'm like, you know what? I got to do something different. And then that's when the Granddaddy Secret series popped in my head.
Granddaddy Secrets. I love this series.
And I decided to be the change, to stop complaining about it,
Yeah.
but to be the change. And I'm like, so I'm going to start writing stories about a struggling boy living in a rough neighborhood, rough school, rough home, all that, and put out just in a fantastic story-like structure. Put out leadership lessons, character, manners, politeness. Look at people in the eye, but all these things that it seems like none of these kids know.
I know. It's so sad because it's something that, for me, I learned at home.
Yeah.
And home life is so different for a lot of people, but especially in this day and age, you just see a lot of, and I'm not trying to make any parents feel guilty, but they're pushing it on the teachers.
Yes.
You raise
Yes.
my kid. You teach him all this
Yes.
stuff. I'm just going to clothe and feed him in my house.
Yeah. The teaching's become so much more encompassing.
Yes.
There's too many hats
Yeah.
that teachers have to wear.
Yep.
So after a while, this was going pretty good. And I was getting a lot of people looking at it, even students, saying, wow, this is good stuff, right? So then after a while, it hit me that I shouldn't just stop. I branched out. Shouldn't just stop with the teen boys. I should make some kind of supports for parents.
I always say, for me, I write the book I need. I start the show I need. I needed there to be a show for writers to tell me why they were writing, to help me,
Yep.
gain confidence to write. Writing, a murder mystery to find out why a murder happened or something.
Yeah.
But especially your Granddaddy Secrets, I do see as you kind of writing them for you because they're sharing them.
Yeah.
The Granddaddy Secrets to being an overachiever. I mean, Granddaddy Secrets to not being burnt out. I forget the exact title of that book.
Yep.
Granddaddy Secrets to entrepreneurship, to authorpreneurship.
Yeah.
And it's these are all things who you are.
Yes.
And, I see cheerleading. You're cheerleading yourself on.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
Because you've written it, those books, which we couldn't put all 50 on here.
Yeah.
It's allowed other people to read them, and if they're not a reader, it allows them to see you and meet you, whether through social media or in person at a keynote talk or a TED talk, and get a little bit of Dan.
Yes.
I need a little Dan in my life.
Well, I definitely learned that you have to write about what you know.
Yeah.
And by writing about what I know, it's caused me to know it better.
Yes.
And to introspect and reflect more and to have more of a positive impact in this world and be more of the change that Gandhi talked about.
You definitely encompass that. And, one of the things that is in all of your books is the fact that you share your wisdom, you share your experience, and you teach leadership to other people. You are a leader.
Yeah.
You are that change. And when you started writing, I think it's just something I'm going to say probably came naturally to you. I don't know if you really thought this through, but did you plan on always making sure the leadership stuff was in there? Or did it just come
No,
out?
it just came out.
Yeah.
Like I tell you, it's amazing. Like some people are like, well, when you wrote your first book, like how did that go? And I go, surprisingly easy. Yeah. Not that it was quick.
Yeah.
But it was surprisingly easy because when my pen hit the paper, the words just flowed out like a river. Yeah. It just flowed. Now, of course, they needed to be rewritten. But it was just like it just poured out of me. And many times I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I have no idea where that came from. And I was so glad I wasn't smart enough to box myself in with an outline.
Right.
But just a free write.
Right. Well, and that's one thing. And I was thinking you're going to say, sometimes when I'm doing that free write in the flow, like the river, because I totally get that. I'm just glad that sometimes I have the confidence to not throw it away. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what did I write? And then, the euphoric feeling when you're done writing it. You're just like you've given birth. And it's like,
it's so good.
It's on the page.
Yeah. So let me tell you where I've gone to now.
Yeah.
Because I got up to 42 books. I did the TEDx talk. I was president of multiple associations. And I was feeling like a little burnt out.
Oh,
and I was feeling because my nose was to the grindstone and I was always in the middle. I needed to rest a little bit, give myself a little space and reflect a little bit. And I actually did that for let's say a little over summer, right? Maybe a little bit into fall as well. And I was confused. And I'm like, I don't know where to go in life right now. I'm still a school teacher. I've got all these books. I got these speeches. I got this. I got that, right? I don't know where to go in life. And I kept thinking, so who am I? Like, who am I? What am I? What do I do? What am I all about? And then it kept coming back. Obviously, the leadership. It's definitely part of it. I'm a special ed teacher. Yeah. I'm also a history teacher. And I really enjoy being a history teacher. And I find myself very lucky to be able to teach history outside the box to special ed students, troubled students, right? So then I'm like, I love to travel. I love seeing things. They don't have to be far away. It could be the next town over, right? I love seeing things, visiting things, doing things. So I was thinking, how do you combine that? And I'm like, I don't know how. I'm not sure how. But after months of just reflecting on this.
I love that.
Where I want to go, what I want to start working on, what would give me new vigor in life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What would be like a breath of fresh air? I came up with the whole travel in time with Dan concept, where I would mix travel with history and with leadership lessons. And I was like, that's perfect. That's who I am, who most other people aren't.
Yeah.
That's my unique thing, right? So I'm like, where do I go first? And I was just like, I don't even know.
We'll just do the Northeast. We'll do our own town where we live.
I started in Connecticut, and I live in Mansfield. Right down the road in Willimantic, the next town over, there's a really old jail-like looking structure that I've driven by for years and wondered what it is. So I'm like, I'll go there. I'll research it and figure out what that is, and I'll just do a video.
Yeah.
I crawl, walk, run. I'll just do a video, and like a 5-minute video of that Willimantic jail, historic jail in downtown Willimantic in the Memorial Park.
Yeah.
Right? And when I did the video, I went and I showed it to my students. And my students were like, oh my gosh, that is so cool.
And it's right here.
Yeah, they loved it. So then I was like, okay, I got to figure out what my next video is. But then something was kind of like gnawing at me. And it was just like, well, what could be after the video? I'm like, I got that content, and here it comes, falling back on my past habits without even realizing that my past habits are going to come in use for a new project. And my past habits were, well, how could I take this content and multi-purpose it into something else? And I'm like, a blog, of course.
Yeah.
Duh, I could do a blog, of course. So then I did a blog on it, where I expanded it a little bit in a few ways. I did a blog on it. And then I'm like, okay, so good. Now I'm going to have a video and a blog for each place I go, right? And then, so now I'm doing some more videos. And I'm thinking, all in Connecticut, right?
Yeah,
Close.
yeah. No.
And I'm going, so what's new? What's next? I go, see, video, blog, podcast. So podcast came next.
So are you doing a podcast?
For all of them.
Wow.
All of them, I
didn't
got
know you were doing a
podcast.
podcast.
And then after a while, as I'm sitting there talking to my students about it, and I think one of them says, well, what about a digital magazine?
Ooh.
And I go, oh my gosh, what a great. So now they're all included in digital magazines.
That's amazing.
And then once I got the digital magazines, I was sitting there driving home one day thinking, and I go, since I have the digital magazine, and I know I've been trying to give myself some space to be a new to kind of be a new person, but to go in a new direction. But I go, since I have the digital magazine, it really wouldn't be that hard to blow the digital magazine out into like an ebook. And then once you get the ebook, then it's not hard to go paperback and audiobook.
See, this is what I mean. Like, I want to, as much as I want to talk about what's in your book, people can go buy the book. Go buy.
Yeah.
But like how it got done, like your energy, you're constantly looking for the next thing to do as you're doing it. And it's just like so inspiring. And I mean, it gets me excited because I'm just like, okay, what do you do when, you've written The Storm or Hitting the Mat or the GRANDDADDY series?
Yeah.
Like each individual book and each series of books you've written all have more than just what's between the covers.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think a lot of authors out there, who are like, oh, I'm not selling books. And they're frustrated, like, I'm not selling books. It's not really about selling books. It's about selling your message. So it's like you got to get your message out there,
Yeah.
So where is this podcast, number one? Because I'm learning about this now. How do people find your podcast? How do they get your books? How do they
if you go on well, my books are simple. Amazon. It's the simplest thing. You just Google Dan Blanchard or whatever, go to Amazon. So you see the books at Amazon.
Okay.
Whatnot. The blogs are on my website, Granddaddy's Secrets.
Okay.
It's on my website. And the podcasts are on Spotify. So they can go to Spotify. Now it gets even better. Like I've got links. Let's say this Travel in Time in Connecticut.
Is the
links are in
is the podcast called Travel in Time with Dan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Travel in Time with Dan on Spotify. And there's links in the book. Every chapter has links.
Okay.
To the to everything. To the YouTube
you
video,
went.
the blogs, the podcast. You can see me standing there talking about it. So it gets even better. So Travel in Time in Connecticut, I'm like, so what's next? What's next? I go, wouldn't it be cool? Right? If me and whatever historical figure that at the site have an imaginary conversation. So Travel in Time in Connecticut has Travel in Time conversations with Connecticut's past when me and Mark Twain are going back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
At Nook Farm in Hartford. Me and Mark Twain are going back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
And I do it for every single chapter, coincides it with the exact chapter.
Wherever you are, whatever location.
Yeah, and we have that conversation. So now you got Travel in Time in Connecticut, and then you got the companion book, Travel in Time Conversations with Connecticut's Past. And the same with the Northeast. And now I've written a Travel in Time Connecticut Volume 2, and I've just finished the Conversations book. So here we are about a year later when I've started this project, and I've got about 60 videos and 6 books, and podcasts, blogs, digital magazines, all that in about 1 year.
I almost feel like some of these should be incorporated into school systems.
Absolutely.
This is a way better way to learn history.
Way better way to learn history. It's interactive, it's multimedia, it's a little bit of like the lesser known, it's storytelling of really interesting lesser known history. Like Connecticut used to have a parallel system to the white governors of black governors for about 100 years where they co-ruled Connecticut. Almost nobody knows about it. And I'm standing in the ancient burial ground at Hartford, in the front of the tombstones, talking about the 100 years of black governors that Connecticut had that almost nobody knows.
So they get the book, and then they can go to these vlogs and watch even, I mean, and I love it because it's not like a big, thick textbook, but it has infinite.
It's quick, fun,
oh my God,
reading. And this has been so much fun.
So this is your new passion, Travel in Time with Dan.
Yep.
You've done Connecticut, Northeast.
Yep. Connecticut Volume 2.
How far will we travel?
Yeah, well, we're going to go all over. So here's the thing. This is the 250th birthday of the United States.
Yeah.
So as soon as I'm going to be working a lot on New England this week.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to go and I'm going to do Travel in Time in Boston, America 250. Travel in Time in Philadelphia, about the Constitution now.
Okay.
Travel 250. And then I've already got almost enough content for New York, Massachusetts, and I've got several other New England states I'm working on. And I'm going to eventually just be going all over. I've got enough material to last me 3-4 lifetimes.
I was just going to say, you're going to have a Travel in Time series that's going to have like 100 books.
Yeah, and maybe a TV show.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see all that. I definitely am.
Me too.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you, Angela.
I'm a huge supporter. I want all of my audience members to go and check out his books on Amazon. I'm telling you, you are going to be educated, inspired, and entertained with what he's written. There's definitely one in these almost 50 books that you're going to like. So thank you so much to Studio 954 for letting me have the show yWrite. I love coming in here. I love talking to people like Dan and all of the authors that come in because, you know, we all have stories that we need to share, and there's people out there who need to hear them. So, you know, thank you. This is the time of the program. I'm giving you a little writing prompt. And, you know, today Dan talked about how he finds pockets of time to write. I mean, here's an easy writing prompt for you. Literally, when the show's over, I want you to think of 3 times in your day where you could find a 15 or half hour pocket to write. Maybe it is getting up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., maybe a little bit earlier. Maybe it's in car line. I don't know. You figure out where you have pockets of time to write, or maybe where you have pockets of time to read. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and I'll see you next time.